I said last time that while we were in the hospital, the two OSI agents, the short guy with the flat top haircut, and then the taller guy in his early 30s, he came to see me at the hospital and interrogated me. I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I was 22 years old. I had no life experience to speak of. I didn't have the benefit of a law degree, certainly, to know what my rights were. But I worked a couple years as a prosecutor, and I understand interrogation techniques. And in retrospect, that's all he was trying to do, was intimidate me, let me know who's boss, and try to ensure that I told him the truth. But I did tell him that, because he asked me, he says, I want to know how many pictures you took of it. I want your film and your camera. And I said, sir, I didn't take a single picture, which was the truth. So this is about 8 weeks after we got back. I got a call from the squadron commander. Actually, the first sergeant told me the squadron commander wanted to see me right away. So I ran. This is 9 o'clock in the morning. I ran down to his office and, went through the whole military courtesy thing. And he said, Sergeant Lovelace, the OSI people would like to speak with you. They're sending a car over. It should be out front now. If I were you, I wouldn't keep them waiting. And I said, yes, sir. And I was gone like a shot. I made a stop in the bathroom, checked my appearance, made sure, my uniform was right and everything, and ran out the front door. And sure enough, right as I exit the front door, this blue squad car pulls up, and this senior airman hops out and asks me, Sergeant Lovelace? And I'm like, well, I'm in uniform. I got a name tag on. But I said, yes, I'm Sergeant Lovelace. And he opened the back door for me and said, have a seat, please. And I did. I sat down. I've never been in the back of a police car before. We got to the OSI headquarters, which was just a couple miles away, if that. And he pulled up in front, opened the door for me, shut it, and said, follow me, please. So I did. I followed him. We went through the front door and then through a double door. He walked up and they hit a buzzer. And when the buzzer sounded, he could open the door. So we went into that door, and then that door shut behind us. And then the second buzzer went off. Then he opened the second door, and then we went in. So he took me down a long corridor of, they were interrogation rooms. And they were marked alphabetically, A, B, C, D, and I think it was room E or something. And he opened the door and said, someone will be right with you. And the door shut like a bank vault. I didn't even try it. I knew it was locked. And I'm looking around, and the room is about the size of my master bedroom bathroom. I mean, it's a small little room with a desk in the middle, and a chair, comfortable chair, padded chair on rollers, and there's a framed mirror against the wall to my left. Now, what do you need a framed mirror for? I mean, nobody's going to be in there grooming themselves, It had to be one of those two-way affairs, and I wanted to get up and cup my hands and look through it, but I didn't have the nerve to do that. And I sat in a comfortable chair, and it's maybe 20 after 9, and there's a General Electric schoolhouse clock right above the door. And the door is a metal door, and nothing on the walls. And I waited, and I waited. And, in retrospect, I think that that's part of the, making me wait was part of the game, part of their procedure. So it was close to noon, and I'm the longer I'm there, the more anxious I get. I saw somebody outside the door, and then they had a key and opened the door, and it was the same two agents that visited me when I was in the hospital. And they were talking between themselves, and they walked in and completely ignored me. And they were talking about golf or something. I think it was golf. And he kicked me out of the comfortable chair and made me take one of these fiberglass chairs that were kind of scoop-like they had all over the place in the 70s. And I pulled that up to the table. And the guy in charge, the major, the guy with the southern accent, said, well, son, did you find any film, or did you find your camera for me? And I said, no, sir, I don't have anything. And he says, well, it may not matter. It's okay. And he says, you're going to be hypnotized today. And I said, no, sir, I didn't know that. And I didn't. And I was shocked. And I said, no, sir, I had no idea. Well, back when I was in the hospital, before they left, before the two agents left, they scooped everything off my side table and laid some forms in front of me, handed me a pen. And I'm like, sir, what are these? And he says, son, those are waiver and consent forms. Those give us the right to look in your house, look in your car, see if you have anything illegal, see if you got a big old bag of marijuana in your car. You don't have a big old bag of marijuana in your car, do you, son? And I'm like, no, sir. And I'm dumb. I have the feeling that if I protest, I'm going to look guilty, you know? And I don't know if it would have made a lot of difference, to tell you the truth. So I signed these things. One of the things I signed, because I said, sir, I don't want to do this. And he reaches in his briefcase, and now he's got his angry face on. And he pulls out a sheet of paper, and he slams it on the desk in front of me, and he points with his finger, and he says, is that not your signature, son? And it was. I'd signed it. And I said, yes, sir, it is. But, sir, I don't want to do this. And he says, oh, you don't want to do this? No problem. He said, son, we would never force you to do something you don't want to do. He said, you just say the word, and I'll tear these papers up for you right now. We can stop this. And I said, yeah, I'd like that. And then he said, and we'll just see you at the court-martial. And I thought, my God, I haven't been charged with a crime, you know? I don't even know what I'm suspected of doing, other than maybe having a black and white photograph of a UFO the size of Walmart. Other than that, you know, I don't think that was a crime. God, I wish I had 36 exposure rule of that. My gut was that the best thing I can do is roll with this. My undergraduate degree is in psychology. I had been taking evening classes for a couple of years. And I knew a little bit about psychology, and I knew that I could not be hypnotized against my will. I knew that. And I knew that I could resist that, and I did. But I didn't know about the drug. And that worried me a little bit. And then this guy taps on the door, and the captain is closest. He opens the door, and this guy comes in, and he's a major. He's got oak leaves on, but he has no name tag, which was odd. And he talked to the two agents, and they were talking about fishing. I guess he didn't golf, you know. And they're having this nice little conversation back and forth. And then he suddenly shifts gears over to me. And he holds out his hand and he says, Sergeant Lovelace, it's so nice to finally meet you. Oh. And I'm just taken aback because he handles himself more like a therapist or a priest, but not like a military officer. So I shook his hand, and he said, oh, I understand you're from St. Louis. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, oh, yeah. And he rattles off some landmarks. And we start this little back and forth conversation. And he says, pull up a chair next to me here. And he kind of scoots over into my personal space. And we're having this conversation, and he's smiling and nodding his head. And I'm thinking, this is not right, because I'm just not that interesting. You know, I'm from St. Louis, but I'm not that interesting. I think he could perceive that I kind of put my guard up, because I thought, now's the time to put your guard up, because I don't know what's going on, but it's potentially not in my best interest. So he shifts gears and he says, Terry, do you trust me? And I thought, like hell. But of course, I said the obvious and civil thing. I said, yes, I trust you. And I didn't know what to call him other than Major, because he didn't have a name tag on. And then he says, for today's little exercise only, would you call me Brad instead of Major? That is my name. And it was just spooky. It was just creepy the way the guy said it, you know.
I'll be Brad.
And I said, yes, sir. And he says, don't you mean yes, Brad? And I said, yes, Brad. And then he says, and Terry, for purposes of today's little exercise, may I call you Terry? That is your name. And I'm like, sure. And it just felt really weird talking to an officer like this, you know. Um, and then he says, you know, I'm gonna take you through some a relaxation exercise is what he called it. And he says, and I'm going to give you a little medicine in your arm. And I know the medication they give me. It was sodium amytal, a short-acting hypnotic. I know it because I've talked to people that have experienced it. I talked to a person who claims to have been one of the people who administered it. And everyone told me it was sodium amytal. So I'm assuming that that's true. So he asked me to go through this progressive relaxation thing where he says, now, Terry, we're standing at the stairwell. We're going to go down, walk down, and look around downstairs and see what's down there. Now, I want you to follow my instructions carefully. And he had this really smooth voice. I mean, like a radio announcer. It was just real easy to listen to. And he says, here we go, Terry. Take that first step. In your mind's eye, see yourself taking that first step down the stairwell. Take the first step, feeling relaxed. Now take the second step, feeling twice as relaxed now, feeling warm, feeling comfortable. Now take that third step. Now 3 times more relaxed. Every muscle in your body is at ease, feeling warm, feeling safe. Take a slow, deep breath and take that next step. And on. You get the idea.
Yeah, we get the idea.
So as he's doing this, in my mind's eye, to resist, I'm picturing myself going up the stairwell. You know, I'm trying to do, as he's telling me to relax, I'm trying to covertly tense my muscles instead of relaxing them. And I'm just doing everything that I can to not surrender my mind to this guy. And you know what I did that kind of seemed to work was I kind of bifurcated my mind where, you know, I thought, you know, I'll give this guy half of my brain. But this other half, I'm going to keep it, and I'm not going to give it to him, and I'm not going to let myself be fully hypnotized. I was definitely afraid that I'd come out of this and I would have confessed to something I didn't do and have no memory of it because I didn't trust these people.
Right.
So in this other part of my brain, I'm playing Beatle music. All the words to Norwegian Wood, and then Rolling Stones, and then multiplication tables, and anything I can think of to occupy my mind. And that's what I did while he was talking. And then he gave me the medication intravenously, and I'll tell you, it was bam. It hit me like, I was in a different zone. The class of drug, sodium amytal, is called a hypnotic for a reason because it'll put you in a weird place. And that's where I was. That's when he started questioning, and he said, Terry, I understand that you and Toby went camping. Is that right? And I said, yes, Brad. And he said, and you saw some funny lights in the sky, didn't you, Terry? And I said, yeah, we did, Brad. And he said, but they weren't funny lights at all, were they, Terry? And I said, no, Brad, they sure weren't. And he says, tell me who they were, Terry. And I said, they were the space people. Now, when I said that, I could not believe that came out of my mouth. I was, honest to God, shocked that I said that. But that's what I said. And he said, tell me about it. Tell me what the craft looked like. And I told him. And this is when he started probing my memories of being inside the ship and what they said to me and what I saw. And the way his questions were framed and the way he asked me at the hospital, these guys knew what I saw. No doubt in my mind, they already knew. They wanted to know how much I knew. And I figured out pretty early in this exercise that the purpose of all this was under hypnosis and the influence of these drugs to make me forget this, forget everything that I saw. And I thought, you know, I'm the one that went through this. I'm the one that experienced this. And I'm not going to let you take these memories from me. I own them. And I'm not going to give them up. And, you know, I've often thought over the last 40 years, would my life have been much easier had I just relented and gone along with the thing and and, and let them erase my memory. Uh, but I don't think so. Because I think if they do that, if you let them do that to you and they suppress that memory, I think all this stuff will come back anyway. I mean, it'll bubble up from your subconscious and it could manifest in all kinds of unhealthy ways, drugs, alcohol, risky behavior, who knows? Um, but I wanted to hold on to those memories. And uh, toward the end, he said, Terry, you talked to these two agents. You remember that, don't you? And I said, yes, Brad. And he said, they came and see you when you were in the hospital. I said, yes, Brad. And he says, this is very important, Terry. He says, now listen closely. Did you tell these two agents the truth? And you know what? I did. I did tell them the truth. I told them we went to bed feeling bad. We woke up sick as dogs and we came back. I just left out the part about the UFO, the size of Walmart, you know? So I could say with confidence, yes, I did tell them the truth. And he seemed very satisfied with that. And he asked the other two agents, he said, you boys got anything else? And they said no. And one thing I should mention, it's very important, is that one of the questions he asked me when he asked me about what I saw aboard the ship, and I told him about those humans in tan flight suits with issue combat boots and military haircuts that carried themselves with a demeanor like they were members of the flight crew and not, not tourists. And when I brought that up, and I told them what I saw, same thing I relayed to you earlier, I heard a cough and a couple of expletives, shuffling of papers, and Brad said, Terry, that never happened. Do you understand? That doesn't happen. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Now, we both know that that never happened, don't we? And I thought, oh, yeah, I'm not going to forget this because this is important. This really struck a nerve with them. I mean, like a dental drill, it struck a nerve. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to remember this. And I did. And I remembered, like I say, I don't have a clear linear memory of everything that happened. I wish I did. And maybe someday soon I will have. And a lot of his questions were leading questions. Like the first question he asked me, was a leading question. They weren't stars at all, were they, Terry? No, they weren't. What were they, Terry? Yeah, he was good at his job. I'll say that. He did a good job of bringing things to the forefront of my memory that I didn't even remember. But like I say, the thing that upset them the most, I told them about the other human beings in the craft, and that didn't seem to get a big response. And then, of course, when we wind the thing up, this was kind of interesting. He said, Terry, you have this burden that you're carrying with you of all these memories, all these bad things that happened to you, all these ugly things that you saw. That's a burden that's heavy on your shoulders, and I want you to let me take it for you. Will you do that for me, Terry? Will you let me take this burden? And I thought, you ain't taking this away. But I said, yes, Brad. And he said, Terry, I'm going to clap my hands 3 times, and then this will all be gone. And you'll be happy again, and you'll feel secure, and everything will be okay. And you'll wake up feeling refreshed, wake up feeling like you've just had a full night's sleep, and everything will be good. And this is the point where I got a little bit nervous because I thought, what if he claps his hands 3 times and my mind goes blank,
Right.
So I tried to listen to the Beatle music in the other half of my mind and hold on to these memories. And he clapped 3 times and nothing happened. Nothing happened. That I'm aware of anyway. Now, can I say that for sure that nothing happened? No.
Right.
But I know this, he didn't take everything from me. And I'm glad he didn't. Because like I say, I think it would have been been bad for me if he had done that. So that's
So
the story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Questions. Yeah. So the uniforms they're wearing, are they like flight suits? Are they one piece? Are they a top and a bottom?
They're standard one-piece flight suits that look like you'd call a jumpsuit, like mechanics used to wear back in the day, auto mechanics,
Right.
you know. But they looked military. They were tan in color. Um, and like I say, I don't know any branch of the service that wore tan colored flight suits. I mean, that just baffles me. I mean, unless maybe the Coast Guard did, but I don't know what the Coast Guard would have been doing in the middle of Missouri, on a spaceship. So
And that's something we could research a bit. Who had tan flight suits?
flight suit and issue combat boots.